Zishan, could I have a chat with you?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can.
available.
We can.
Okay.
We can.
Cheers. Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers. Go this way to avoid the camera.
Assalamualaikum. How are you? Right. Can I just take a small break?
Yes, take a break.
Let me just stretch my legs.
I'm Jonathan.
You're Jonathan. My name's Zishan.
Yeah.
What religion do you subscribe to?
I subscribe to Judaism.
Judaism.
I'm not a believer. I just subscribe to it.
Okay, in terms of
No, I'm like I don't think it's all true what I've been told as a kid, but I observe it. Like I keep the Sabbath,
Okay.
I keep kosher.
okay.
Married to somebody Jewish, I bring up my kids Jewish.
Okay.
I'm not a believer, per se. You know what I mean?
When you say you're not a believer, what do you mean?
So the
What is it that you're not
The
believing in?
fundamentals of Judaism and Christianity is similar, and Islam as well. The fundamentals are that we have a book,
Yeah.
the Torah. I mean, we have lots of books, but the Bible is the original book, which was written down, I don't know when it was, 2,000 years ago, something like that. And I was brought up in an Orthodox family where you were supposed to believe that the stories in the book were literally historically factual. And the biggest story is the giving of the Torah on the Mount Sinai 3,000 years ago, where Moses goes up the mountain, stays there for the 20 nights, evening, and receives these tablets with 10 speakings.
I was going to make a joke, but that would come under disrespect of Moses.
you can make a joke by all
Not to
means.
Moses, because we value Moses as well.
Right.
When you said tablets, I was going to say something else.
Anyway, 2 iPads. But so
I was going to make paracetamol joke.
So you're supposed to believe that literally happened, and that the Bible is a literal word of God, and that Moses is kind of not I don't know how similar it is to the prophet, but Moses was just kind of scribing it, but actually it's the word of God. So I don't believe that. I just find that unlikely. It's possible, but extremely unlikely.
So, Jonathan, what have you heard about Islam, and what's the things that maybe you do resonate with, and what do you not resonate with?
Quite a lot to ask you. I've gone in and out of the Quran. I haven't read the whole thing, like cover to cover, and I also haven't read it like with a scholar. I just read
That's
it in
fine.
English translation.
Can I just correct that, because that's actually it's getting the movements of your feet as opposed to that's better.
Yeah. So I've read. I dip in and out of it, and I have many thoughts. And my first thought is that I look at humanity, I look at the universe, I look at consciousness, I look at the creative spirit of humans, and also the creative spirit of trees and rivers and seas and fish. I look at that, and then I look at the Quran, same place as the Hebrew Bible, and I look at it and I go, it doesn't seem conceivable. Like, it's not even conceivable to me that there is a creator of this whole universe that made the universe, which is an impressive creation, although lots of questions about it, right? And also decided 1,400 years ago to provide humanity in Arabic with a text through a prophet who was illiterate in Arabia, and that this text is like the thing, is like the ultimate communication between the creator of every leaf and every tree, every atom, every worm. The book doesn't stand up to that kind of scrutiny. So that's my first question. Like, how can you really believe that the Quran is so amazing as to be the final, perfect, really, moral word of God?
So there are before to even entertain that, there's a question of is this the book? Yeah, in terms of is this the same book that was revealed at that time? Like, in terms of preservation, in terms of accuracy. The Vedas, the Hindus won't claim that, the Jews don't claim that, the Christians don't claim that. We as Muslims, we do claim that. So I'm just giving a bit of a backdrop. So in terms of preservation, in terms of accuracy, in terms of preciseness, this is something, again, that matches up to the fact that if something is from God, Jonathan, then it has to be something which, well, according to, I think, a rational standard, it has to be something that is preserved. It has to be something that's unchanged.
Why is that relevant?
It's relevant. It's the reason why it is relevant is because, let's just say something comes from God, and some random guy comes in and adds their thing in there, and then people afterwards start believing that that's part of the book.
It doesn't attend to my question. It doesn't make any difference whether it's the original or not. What I'm saying is the Quran we have today, which admittedly I only read in the English translation.
Yes,
Arabic, but the Quran that you read in Arabic and I read in English today, whether it's made up over 100 years or is preserved from 1,400 years ago, it's still a book which I find incredible that the creator of the universe would choose to communicate with humanity after many prophets and etc. to finally decides when God.
So what's your issue about it?
My issue is the book doesn't seem to be good enough.
In terms of what?
In terms of clarity, in terms of readability, in terms of particularly morals. The fact that it's written in Arabic, where most people don't speak Arabic in the world. And
but you've read it.
Well, I've read a translation, which doesn't count. Like, you need to read in Arabic to know what. And I'll tell you something else. In the world today, there are 1.3 billion Muslims. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. The vast majority of them are like all Muslims, people identify as Muslim around here, just normal, lovely, harmless, kind people who fast in Ramadan and give tzedakah and whatever. Yeah, that's fine. But there's a sizable minority, right, in all parts of the world, in North Africa, in West Africa, in the Middle East, in Russia, Chechnya, wherever you find them. There's a whole bunch, right, who interprets the Quran and the Hadith and other teachings of Islam to do things which I hope you and I would agree were immoral and disgusting, right? And causing a lot of heartache and violence and all sorts of terrible things going on. And people are saying, they're praising the Islamic idea of God as they commit these terrible acts. And so that happens, and you say, well, hang on a minute, right? Creator of the universe gives the book to the world, but only gives it to people who speak Arabic initially, right? And then they go around the world spreading it around, right? And it's clearly open for interpretation to a point where people are interpreting it in the most terrible, heinous ways, right? I'm not saying anybody here, but we read the news and it's like nasty.
Okay.
And so come back to my question about the text. It's not clear enough. It really isn't. It's not a clear book. It's like you have to study it and you have to understand it, and it's got contradictions in it, because on the one hand, the Jews are mentioned every 5 seconds. It's like Jews and Moses and the Torah. You think we'd all be best buddies, right? But then there's the whole idea of us being a dhimmi, and we have to pay a jizya and all this business, and and that's the good relations between Muslims and Jews in history, right? So there's a lot of lack of clarity. So when you have the creator of the universe giving a book to people 1,400 years ago in Arabic, it's just not good enough, as far as I'm concerned, for the creators not doing a good job in communicating with human beings.
Okay, so that was the reason why initially I wanted to talk about preservation, because there's a common thread in the points that you've made, and it's linked heavily with preservation. Right. So I wanted to get that out of the way, even though it seemed like something that was maybe unrelated, but it's heavily related because of the reasons that you just mentioned. So in terms of preservation, we're the only ones that claim out of the ancient religions that our book is unchanged, and there are objective, empirical ways that you can measure this. For example, the Quran is mass memorized. You have children as young as 6. It's been memorized since the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, till today. And regardless of whatever sect you are, Sunni, Shia, whatever, even the sects that aren't really regarded as Muslims, they still accept the one Quran as the holy book. So if something comes from God, it has to be something unchanged, because if it comes from someone other than God, and because of the reasons you suggested, people can interpolate, add stuff in there that can have knock-on effects and consequences, dire consequences in fact, and then people can come along and say, take it out. Now, because there's no Christian here, I don't want to falsely label them, but I'll just give one example as an analogy. There's a verse of the Bible in the King James Version which says that if you're a true believer, you can drink poison and nothing will happen to you. Women need to be, quiet in the church. They shouldn't be, speaking, etc. For long periods of time, people would drink poison in a way to demonstrate their faith. But then that verse was an interpolation. It got taken out because of manuscripts, older manuscripts that showed that verse didn't necessarily exist. It was an interpolation. It was added in. And women, they were allowed to speak. But again, another verse that was interpolated. So similarly, in this regard as well, So similarly in this regard, if the Quran was something that people could add things to and take stuff. Welcome to Speaker's Corner. It was because of your reaction. So if people could put stuff in and take stuff out, then that would compound the problem that you've mentioned, which we will of course address.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry, I haven't forgotten. But what I'm saying is that there is a safeguard in place, a damage limitation that other faiths don't claim, nor do they have. So that's point number one.
The Jewish faith does claim it of the 5 books of Moses.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to
They're
somebody
like on a parchment, and there's like laws.
There are,
you
yeah.
go anywhere in the world, for hundreds of years. If you get a scroll from 500 years ago, and you bring it into my synagogue, which is in Hampstead, and you open it, it's like they're the same.
But if we look at the oldest manuscript that we have, is it dated to the time?
No. It's only about 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I mean, a lot's happened, pre that 1,000 years, and
yes.
I mean, even through biblical.
But what I say is that, as I said before, my main concern isn't the originality, whether it's the same as the original.
I understand
it's
that.
about interpretation.
Yeah, of course.
The main question for me is, first of all, I read the book and it doesn't seem very divine to me as a person. I don't read it and go, wow, this is like mind blowing. I read lots of books and some of them are amazing. I'm not amazed by the Quran. It doesn't amaze me. It doesn't impress me.
Did you want a picture? Yeah,
But
that's
more
fine.
importantly,
Just take a picture.
Sorry, thank you so much.
Yeah, you can come in as well. Because the kids, I thought they were.
it's okay.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, brother. Take care.
But that's one point. But I suppose in terms of practical considerations.
Let me just jump in there, yeah?
Sure.
Because initially you made. I'm just trying to keep in organize the points that you said, yeah. So you were talking in terms of you opening it and it's not divine, but then in the same breath you've acknowledged that you haven't read it in Arabic.
Yes,
so
yes.
that's
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like you've got the creator of the universe. Look, we've got police guy coming. We've got the creator of the universe.
Police?
The police are coming in.
Oh yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be noisy because of the trouble over there.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen this happen at Speaker's Corner. Literally.
It happens every now and then,
Yeah. Anyway, so what were we saying?
Arabic.
So yes,
Reading in Arabic.
So look, I'm a British guy. I'm 55. I think I'm fairly average intelligence, roughly. I'm picking up a book which supposedly is written by God, and it's a translation of the original 40 years ago.
Yes.
And I'm reading this book. You'd have thought, right? Even though I haven't read the whole thing, and even though it's Arabic. By the way, the Quran I have at home, someone I met here years ago sent it to me from Jordan. The post.
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful gold-covered thing with a really amazing commentary in it. It was like, it's not like some random thing.
Right.
It's a really beautiful. It looked gorgeous. And so I read the whole introduction. It was very impressive, and I started reading it. Like you'd have thought I'd be drawn in by this divine, beautiful piece of expression in words, because God expressed itself, whatever God is. We can discuss it. Whatever God is,
Yeah.
I see everything here, our human bodies, everything under the ground, everything in the sky, as an expression of the divine,
Yes.
what is called divine creation. So the context that I'm judging, and I am judging,
Yes.
the quality of this literary work, the Quran, is in the context of this amazing universe, this beautiful universe. And when I do that, it's just not good enough.
So are you talking about the content in the Quran?
Yeah, the content, the layout, the way it draws you in, or doesn't in my case, the clarity, moral clarity, explaining how things work, explaining what we should do, right?
I'm not
There's
saying
lots
that.
of there's lots of unclarity.
I'm not saying that this is evidence, but it's very interesting that you're saying this right now, because about a week ago, I think you probably heard of this actor called Will Smith.
Yes.
He's not a Muslim. He doesn't profess to be a Muslim. He believes in, I don't know, maybe perennialism or whatever it may be.
Right.
And he said the exact opposite. That's why I was hearing you out, because it's interesting. That again, Will Smith is not an evidence, but what I'm saying is here is an individual that has read the same book,
Right.
and not with a scholar, not in Arabic, and he said that the Quran, compared to say other scriptures, he says it is clear. You do leave it with a very clear message, and it is beautiful, it's wonderful. And what you mentioned, for example, about Jews and Moses, he said he loves the fact that Moses is mentioned often in the Quran, and how the Quran ties the New Testament and the Old Testament as, of course, the final testament. So the only thing that I would suggest, or I would say, maybe because of an analogy of myself, before I used to come to Speaker's Corner, I wasn't very much interested in these discussions or arguments.
Right.
Let's stick with discussions.
Right.
And there were fantastic works that were given to me. But because I wasn't ready, maybe because I wasn't familiar, I wasn't there, I hadn't immersed myself, or I wasn't really interested. So when I picked up certain books, and the authors had, like, there's one book called Divine Reality by Hamza Sotzis. It's a very good book. I recommend you to read it. I read it, So I read it. First time I read it, wasn't too impressed, frankly.
Right.
I thought it was complex. I didn't really understand the structure. I wasn't really interested in it, and maybe I was rash. Maybe I had some, baggage that I had. But then that same book, Jonathan, when I read it after a couple of years, when I actually started paying attention to Speaker's Corner discussions, and I like these interactions, and I found it to be maybe a part of my personality that I hadn't tapped into yet. I realized that when I picked his book up again, it was like I was reading it for the first time.
Right.
Yeah, it was because certain aspects of my personality, perspective had maybe aligned, maybe I was more aware, maybe I was reading it from a different perspective. Whatever the case may be, that's why I was able to appreciate it more. And that's what I would say pertaining to the Quran.
I'm not closing my mind, but I
Yeah.
will say, let me move on to the second thing I said, because I appreciate
And Jonathan,
that Will Smith and I
Yeah.
have different ideas.
Of course
and
you
you
do.
had different ideas of the same book twice.
Yes,
I
yes.
appreciate that we project or we
There
experience
you
the book
go.
differently. I
There you
accept
go.
that, okay? And I still have it. I'm not going to,
Yeah,
give
of
it
course,
away
of
or
course.
whatever. But I guess I have an intellectual question, which is the following. I mentioned before that there are people self-professing as Muslims all
Yes.
over the world, Sunni, Shia, whatever, who commit all sorts of acts which I consider to be immoral.
Yes.
Maybe you do, in the name of Quran, in the name of Allah, in the name of Islam. And they can cite chapter and verse from
Yes.
the Quran, from other sources.
Yes.
And when I see that, my thought is the following: words, are very flimsy. They are very limited in what they are.
Yes.
They are signposts, right? And not very good signposts at that, right? And for example, the most difficult word for us to discuss actually is Allah. If I'm allowed to say that name, I don't know.
Of course you can.
Yeah, in Judaism you're not allowed to say God's name.
Okay.
Right. So that word Allah, right, is in itself it's just some syllables, Allah, right? And it's a symbol, a sign towards whatever we think Allah is. It's a signpost, right?
Well, just out of interest, would you say the name of God, the Jewish name of God?
No, I wouldn't say it on a camera because it would be
Okay.
offensive to my relatives and stuff.
I
I
got
wouldn't
you.
say it.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it's against the
I got you.
we actually use the word Hashem instead of God's actual name.
Sounds familiar,
And you
yeah.
only use God's name when you're praying or reading from the Bible, from the Torah.
Okay.
Hashem means the name. It's Hebrew for the name. So Allah is pointing towards a concept or a being or whatever you want to call it, of Allah, right?
Yeah.
But I asked your previous guest what is God, and we didn't get
What's
into it,
sin,
which
what's
is
God, yeah.
fine. But perhaps you don't agree with me, but I would presume people here and people watching would agree that what God is or isn't, is really complicated. It's really difficult to comprehend. It's not like this is a hand. We all know what a hand is. We've all got hands and 5 fingers at the end of it. Most of us have, right? We've got 2 of them, and we know what a hand is. So when hand is also a word, it points towards these things that we know what they are. When you talk about Allah, right? We can have a discussion what Allah means, but the fact is that you and me and everybody else will have a completely different concept or idea of what Allah is, because Allah is this invisible as an entity, presence or existence in the world, right? And so I'm just saying that's an example, the most important example of what a word can mean. But in the Quran, you have it's a bunch of words written in Arabic, so it's squidges on a page, right, on a book, and I can interpret it as, well, that obviously what I'm supposed to do is turn my other cheek, or be peaceful, or be respectful, or whatever it may be towards women or my wife. And another person can read it and go, well, actually, yeah, I'm allowed to gently tap my wife, or maybe less gently tap my wife, because I read the same squidges in my way. Yes? And so, regardless of whether it's the word of God or not, which I struggle to accept, even if it is, it's not enough. And it's very, very flimsy as a source for morality, you know.
Okay, so what you've mentioned is, and based on the current backdrop that we have, of course, terrorism and all this sort of stuff happening, nested in with geopolitics and the like. So we have a lot of things to unpack, yeah. But when it comes to the Quran solely being used and interpreted, that's a misunderstanding of the Quran, because the Quran itself says that there are certain things in the Quran that are clear. There are certain things in the Quran that are mutashabihat, things that require further explanation. Like I was speaking to the gentleman there are certain things that are absolutely clear. Killing an innocent person for no reason, absolutely clear cut. Yeah. For example, belief in one God. Irrespective, okay, you have this, you have that. No, there's one God.
Can we just kind of drop you just on the killing of an innocent person?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about that. I'm obviously Jewish, and my focus is on Israel and Gaza at the moment. My family's living out there. I'm seeing the destruction of Gaza country and people, and it's terrible. And I've been to Speaker's Corner several times, and I've spoken to Muslim people who profess to be Muslim. I don't know if you think they're Muslims or not. And I've talked about what's been happening over the last 100 years, including.
It's good you've been speaking about the 100 years as opposed to one day in particular.
One day in particular, but not just that. And I've been saying, I was living in Israel in the 90s. The buses were being bombed by groups like Hamas, and the Israelis were doing all sorts of stuff in the West Bank. It's not a one-sided thing. And when I spoke to people here, I said, well, we're going to have a discussion about the Middle East, which is fine. I've got my view, you've got yours. I want to learn from you. Maybe you want to learn from me. Let's get some principles, because you're a Muslim, you profess to be a Muslim. Let's have principles. Is it okay to kill an innocent human being in any circumstances? And they said no. I said, well, wonderful. I said, so what are your thoughts about the events of the 7th of October? I know there are other events, we can talk about that. The 7th of October, in which it was reported, let's suppose it happened. Some people deny it happened. It doesn't matter, let's suppose it happened. That some people from Gaza killed women and children, point blank range, whatever. Would you say that was anti-Islamic and immoral? And he said no. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, because these kids are going to grow up to be in the Israeli army, and they're going to oppress Muslims or Palestinians or whatever. And I was like, well, we've just lost our basic morality that we can agree on, right? Now, I'm not condemning the guy for his beliefs. He can have whatever beliefs he wants. But I'm just making the point that an innocent person, right, needs interpretation by definition. By definition, for example, let's suppose I was a Zionist, right?
Jonathan, there's so many points that are being made. I'm struggling to keep up.
I'm not innocent.
Yeah.
You can say I'm supporting this evil regime that's committing these crimes.
Okay, I
deserve to be killed.
Yeah, I need to set a foundation here. Yeah. So the foundation is, of course, we've got a Quran which is unchanged. Yeah. Now the Quran, when coming up with the ruling, there's a four-pronged approach. You've got the Quran. You've got the Hadith, which is sayings of the Prophet, peace be upon him. You've got Ijma', which is consensus. Right. And then you've got Qiyas, which is analogical deduction. So these are the four principles before deriving a law. The Quran is not to be taken in isolation completely. So that's the first thing that I wanted to clarify. Now, the second thing that I wanted to clarify, when it comes to the inaccessibility or accessibility of the Arabic language, the Arabic language it fluctuates between 4, 5, and 6 most spoken language on the planet. There's so many ways that we can access the Arabic language. There's schools, there's books. It's not a language, say, like Sanskrit of the Vedas, that is a dead language. It's very difficult to learn or find teachers or tutors, or Aramaic of Jesus, or even Hebrew. Like Hebrew, Aramaic, Sanskrit, these are not languages that are accessible to the public, that are mass spoken on a global kind of level. Arabic is, which is the language of the Quran, and it's accessible. So bearing that in mind, then on top of that, when it comes to, for example, principles of the Quran, indeed there is an interpretation. But when we now look at the third point, which is ijma', what does the scholarly consensus say? What do the early generations say? We have an entire sharia law, which is how principles are deduced and taken out. There is a reason, Jonathan, when ISIS commits an attack, you will seldom come across a single individual that will say ISIS is and are following the Quran as it's supposed to be followed. In fact, when it comes to the IDF, with the crimes, the sickening crimes being committed by the IDF, and you have people, news anchors, that cannot clearly condemn IDF, saying, you know what, this is wrong, that's wrong, there's this. Their immense level of sophistry is being used. However, when you look at ISIS, the imams, there have been entire documents listing imams and religious institutions, mainstream institutions, that have said the attacks are condemned, they are not according to Islam, and they are false and wrong. So this is ISIS. When you look at, for example, Al-Qaeda as a group, in fact, let's just stick with ISIS for now. What do you understand with ISIS because of the Russia thing that happened? Maybe that's, on the...
I don't really follow the news anymore.
Okay, no problem. What's your understanding of ISIS? Let's just where it started from. And
it's really limited.
No problem, we can bounce off each other.
On one leg of humility, of ignorance.
No problem.
My limited understanding...
The videos are going to get demonetized now because of
But my understanding is that ISIS is an organization run by some people who believe they are living out the true ideas of Islam, or early Islam, and they interpret Quran, Hadith, and the other mechanisms in their own way, such that they want to bring into the world a caliphate, where the whole world is organized around the caliphate idea, and that the principles of society that they rule, caliphate rule, are according to a particular interpretation of the totality of Islam, not just the Quran. All of it. That's how I see that, right? And that violence that they use, which they do, is completely not justified but commanded by God, by Allah, in order to bring about this kind of like paradise on earth of an Islamic run planet without lending,
right,
borrowing.
So that with, I got you.
Homosexuality or whatever other things they don't like.
Right. So that again is a very common rudimentary understanding of not only ISIS but of many other such groups.
Right.
For example, what would you say if I said to you, ISIS was a direct outgrowth of the American invasion of Iraq?
Oh, 100%.
You agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And Hamas was an outgrowth of the
let's take one thing at a time.
Yeah.
What would you say if I said that Obama created ISIS?
Well, that's taking it too far. I don't think he created ISIS. I think it could have been that ISIS.
No problem.
Thrived or came
Let's bounce off each other. That's fine.
To Obama's policies.
These two things aren't my statements. The first statement was of Obama. The second statement was of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, his view is that Obama created ISIS. Whatever reasoning he has. Whatever he claims,
he's a scoundrel.
That's his claim.
Not my cup of tea.
So what happened was when America invaded Iraq, then what happened was they disbanded the because you had Saddam Hussein, you had his own people.
His political system.
His political system was disbanded overnight.
Yeah.
In other words, 700,000 people were out of job. They were pissed off,
right,
and they were incredibly capable.
Right.
Yeah. So these 700,000 people were wandering around now. Yeah.
Right.
So now what happened was there was a camp. It's called Camp Buka. Yeah.
Right.
Camp Buka was an American camp, which kept people innocently, which kept people of extreme ideologies or whatnot, and of Saddam's, henchmen.
Right.
They call them the Baathists.
Right. The Baath party.
The Baathists.
I read all about
They're very secular.
Yes.
Not religious.
Yeah.
And there was a big melting pot in Camp Buka,
Right.
And to such a degree that even the intelligence experts said that that camp was a melting pot of us helping them and introducing them to one
Bring the
another.
confidence of Baath Party to the extremist
Exactly.
ideas of Islam, and they created ISIS.
Precisely.
Right.
The initial leaders were actually secularists to such a degree that you can actually get this verified. Karen Armstrong's done her work on this as well. She used to be a nun. Now she
I know
doesn't.
Karen Armstrong.
Yeah, Karen Armstrong. She's done. Yeah, she's done wonderful works on this, and she's given certain case studies of people that were taken under the control of ISIS, and they were noticing and realizing that they were inherently secular more than they were religious. It was actually a secular movement. It was a political movement, a movement of revenge, as opposed to a religious movement.
Just to stop you there. Let's just. I want to switch something a little bit more about, because I lived in Israel during the bombings of Hamas on buses. So some human beings, self-identifying as Muslims, from West Bank of Gaza, would infiltrate into Israel with explosives. And they go onto a bus right near my house, and they detonate, and they kill as many people on the bus as possible. Now, my understanding is that the people who sent them, the people who supported them, and the people who did it themselves believed that what they were doing was justified by their Islamic teachings. Right? I don't know if you agree with them or not, but that's what I think they thought. Right? Now, the question of just bringing it down to actual, like, where my little life, right?
Yes.
Is there were women and children and foreigners and all sorts of people on these buses who were blown up and killed and maimed by these people who thought that this was legal. It was a legal thing to do. And it was legalized by their understanding of the Islamic teachings, Quran, etc. And I wonder what you think about that particular example.
Yeah, so when it comes to killing innocent people, this is not something that is in Islam. Yeah, in fact, the Prophet, peace be upon him, himself clearly said to kill women, children is not allowed. So when you're looking at principles of Islam, the principles are very clear. Now, somebody that is in war, somebody that is in a melting pot where this is going on, that's something that I can never understand. I don't know how it is to be living as a Palestinian in blockade, being, not wedding dresses being allowed in, jam not being allowed in, water being, switched on and off, going through checkpoints, my child being abused in front of me, my mother being slapped around, the constant mowing of grass taking place, innocent people, video evidence coming out, whether it's by ITV, whether it's by Operation Cast Ledge and Protective Edge, where these are case studies, academic case studies, where innocent people have been killed. The difference here is, Jonathan, that certain people on the opposing side, they will use 1 Samuel's and the example of Amalekites, as Benjamin Netanyahu did, and then him quoting the killing of babies. This is unheard of when it comes to Islam and Muslims. That if somebody says that Islam permits you to kill babies, this is something that is absolutely non-existent.
My question isn't really whether Islam permits you to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but let me put it the other way around, right? And by the way, we do have to try and understand what it's like to be a Palestinian in Gaza with the blockade and the humiliations and stuff like that.
We can
need to
try,
that.
Jonathan,
No,
but we'll never know.
For us to have a discussion, I think it's okay to try that. I was there. I've never been to Gaza, and I've never been humiliated.
If I was in Gaza, I'd be incredibly pissed off.
So we agree that if you're in Gaza, you'd be incredibly pissed off, right? Okay. So I'm in Gaza. I'm a Muslim, right? And I believe in Islam, and I fast on Ramadan, and I go to pray 5 times a day, and I read all the things. I go to my school of education. I learn about Islam, right? How is it possible for any teacher of Islam, for any leader, any imam, right, to give their blessing or support to a person to strap explosives, go onto a bus in a town in Tel Aviv, right, and kill women and children? They go on the bus, look around, make sure there are no women and children, only kill the men. They just kill whoever's on the bus. And women and children
When you
killed.
say,
how is it
who's
possible?
who's
to be a
allowed
Muslim?
this? Who's allowed this? You said. I'm guessing you're referring to
for
a
example,
fatwa.
in Gaza, there was a famous spiritual leader, Yassin something, acting
A
as
spiritual leader, not a religious scholar.
a spiritual leader. I don't know if you're a religious scholar. I don't know the difference. But what I'm saying is, even if we take the terrorism as I was told it was in Israel, the bombing of buses. I call that terrorism. I don't know, it's still. But if we say what it is, the bombing of buses in cities in Israel, right, and other bombings like in Russia last week,
Like in Gaza.
like in London. No, but I'm talking about.
I'm talking about Gaza.
No, we can talk about Gaza. I have no problem talking about
No,
Gaza.
do you think what's going on there is
We'll talk about it.
terrorism?
I promise you we'll talk about it.
But do you believe it's terrorism,
I'll
though?
talk about it in a minute. I'll tell you what I think about it.
Surely you can add it to your list.
I'll answer your question. No. But I'm talking about acts of violence by Muslims, not against Muslims right now. We can talk about the other side. We're talking about Muslims being victims of Israeli or Jewish aggression. We can talk about that. But I'm talking about Islam right now, and I'm saying that. And my question is, I haven't seen expressed very much here in the press, in marches. I was in the Palestinian march yesterday in London. I haven't seen an expression of condemnation at any point, at any time, for actions committed in the name of Islam, even if they're not really Islamic. So the ISIS thing. that
Jonathan,
happened in
I'm gonna have to stop you there because as a Muslim watching the interviews and paying attention to everything and hearing that, it's mind-boggling because I mean, just take one case study of the Piers Morgan show. Every single interview that guy has done with somebody from the Palestinian side has started with this question: do you condemn Hamas? And I would say 95%.
We're not talking about Hamas now.
No.
We're talking about all the violence by
No.
lots of
But
Muslims around
I'm
the
talking
world.
about Hamas because we're talking
fine,
about
okay.
So 95% of them have categorically condemned Hamas. In fact, it's against the law in this country because this country has demarcated Hamas as a terrorist organization, so it's against the law.
Yes.
If somebody
yesterday who's got a court case on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's been-
So it's a legal. Legally, it has to be done in this country that you declare them as a terrorist organization or
You
whatnot.
can't show support for them in any way.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't have a sign saying Hamas is the best thing ever.
Yeah,
It's illegal.
and I'm yet to. If you can tell me the name of an organization, a credible organization that has said what Hamas did is Islam, what Hamas did is Islam, and we get battered over the head, Jonathan, again and again and again. And our people have clearly said, look, this is our stance when it comes to Hamas.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I have not come across a single individual mainstream that has said, you know what the IDF are doing and this is pro-Israeli side, they are war crimes,
Right.
they are terrorists, they should be condemned and they should be stopped.
Can I talk to that?
Clearly.
Can I talk to that?
Sure, of course.
So my family lives in Israel. I know personally dozens of kids. They're 18, 19 years old in Gaza in Israeli army uniform. So I can speak as much as I can. I'm not Israeli and never been in the army. I can speak for them as much as I know anything. In answer to your question of do I condemn the Israeli army for terrorism, genocide, ethnic cleansing, whatever, apartheid, you lay the list as long as you want.
I'm guessing the answer is going to be no.
Sorry, no. The answer's not going to be no. The answer's going to be
Yes.
No, the answer's going to be yes.
It was no.
No. It's not a yes or a no. It's not a yes or a no. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. Yes. Sorry. No, I think it is nuanced. I think when Hamas blow people, I think when Hamas blow up people on buses, yes, what that is nuanced as well. I do think it's nuanced.
No,
I do.
yeah.
And my question was, I'm standing in front of somebody who's representing Islam, and I'm saying, I'm asking for an explanation or an understanding. That's all about how he sees people following his religion, or saying they're following his religion, committing acts that seem to be
her point still
immoral.
stands, though.
Yeah?
Her point still stands,
Yeah.
which is when I'm asking you about these things, you're saying it's nuanced and
Yes.
you can't give a yes or no answer. But when it comes to me, you're saying, you know what, there's somebody that's saying this, or you guys aren't condemning. Condemnation
Yeah.
is a clear, categorical stance. It's not a nuanced stance. You can't condemn somebody and be nuanced.
You're professed as a religious believer in Islam. I'm not a believer in anything. Yeah, I'm not a Zionist or an Israeli. I'm barely Jewish. I'm like I was born Jewish and I keep Judaism. I'm not.
But you're a human being. You're a human being that can hold a categorical stance of whether they're committing genocide or not, whether they're doing ethnic cleansing or not.
I don't believe in taking categorical stances on complex things. Right? Neither Hamas nor Islam nor Gaza. I don't believe that. I think that's just simplistic nonsense. Right? Okay. The fact is, right?
So then this is what's interesting.
But let me answer the question.
Would you say Hamas are terrorists?
No.
You wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't say they're terrorists because terrorism is a stupid, cheap, it's lazy word, right? Okay. Let me be clear. Yeah, I'm 55. I've lived my whole life in UK and Israel and America a little bit, right? I've never been in a camp, concentration camp in Germany. I've never been in West. I've never lived in the West Bank or Gaza as a Palestinian. I've never had these things happen to me. I don't know what it's like.
Could you feel what it's like being in a concentration camp?
Yes.
You can.
Yes, I can imagine what it's like, and I can imagine what it's like to be a Palestinian.
I don't think you can.
I think, which I can never prove, and I never want to prove it, that if I were in a position that Palestinians find themselves in Gaza, for example, or in particular in the West Bank, because Gaza was at least there was a possibility of making a nation there without occupation. The Israelis left, but if I were in the West Bank, and couldn't go from one town to another without a roadblock, with all the humiliations and stuff like that, and I couldn't be free, I couldn't travel around the world without getting permits from this, that, and the other. Yeah, I have no idea what I would do, but I can't say I would never go and commit any acts of violence. It's ridiculous, right? Of course, I probably would. Yeah, I'm quite a fiery kind of guy. I'd like try writing letters and protesting peacefully, and if it doesn't work, I'd probably get violent. So to say, are they terrorism or do I condemn it? It's ridiculous, right? Okay, because I'm not them, right? But I want to answer your question about Israel and the terrible things that are going on in Gaza right now, and that have been going on in the West Bank since 1967, when the Israeli army took over the West Bank and Gaza.
Even before that, I mean, with the Nakba as well. Let's not forget that.
There was a Nakba in 1948,
yes,
and other stuff.
Sure.
Okay, well, we can pick one. They're all terrible, right? So my understanding is that the Israeli forces, IDF, right, has policies, right? Policies. I'm talking about the Gaza war now. The West Bank as a whole.
Let's go back and forth.
Has a bunch of policies, right? Which the aim of which is to fight what they call Hamas, right? People with weapons and designs on invasion and attacks in Israel, and to neutralize them, kill them, or have them run away, or whatever it is. Yeah, that's their aim. Okay. The moral question, which I think is maybe of interest to you, the moral question is: are there orders from the top, from the government, yes, through to the army, through to the soldiers, right, that say you should shoot anything that moves, you should bomb any building, doesn't matter who's in it, yes, regardless, just random, just kill people, right? Are there any orders there? And my simple answer to that question is no. There are no such orders at all. And that changes the moral landscape.
Through the Israelis?
Yes, the Israelis don't have orders.
No.
Okay,
Look,
so contradict me.
I mean, when it comes to the court case that's going on in South Africa at this moment, I mean, there's so many genocidal statements, not only by leaders, but commanders of the army, of people that are holding the weapons. Whichever aspect you look at in Israeli society, be it the leadership, be it the commander of the army, be it the guy holding the gun, all of them are saying yes.
Well, the ICJ,
yes, whether it's babies.
No, they said you're verging on genocide. Be careful. That's what the ICJ ruled.
Whether it's babies, whether it's women, whether it's whoever it may be, but babies and women are not excluded. So many cases of people holding guns saying, you know what, open season. Whether it's people that are in leadership positions, whether it's people with guns, open season. No. Now, when it comes to Islam and Muslims, there's not a single verse that you can get from the Quran that allows you to kill innocents for no reason whatsoever.
So why did people in Gaza support
Jonathan,
what
you
happened
were,
on October 7th?
Jonathan, you were speaking for an incredibly long period of time, and I was being very patient.
Okay, sorry.
And you bring up so many points; it's very difficult for me to keep up.
Carry on.
Yeah. So when it comes to the genocidal statements, when it comes to clear verses of the Quran and the Hadith, categorically we're told no. Yeah. When it comes to demolishing a holy place of another faith, replacing it with your own faith, these are all that Jewish scholars, they're becoming mainstream now. For example, you probably are aware of the red heifer prophecy, where the aim is to get rid of Aqsa and replace it with the third temple. This is something that's acceptable. Killing of babies in 1 Samuel. Yeah, just kill them, whether it's babies, whoever it may be. Take infants, slam their heads against rocks. You will not find a single verse like this in the Quran that permits this, that allows this. However, the spiritual leader that you said, that has said something, firstly, we don't take our religious rulings from spiritual leaders. Spiritual leaders help us when it comes to our connection with God. Scholars are those people that then have to give references from Quran, from Hadith. If you are looking, Jonathan, and you're looking at organizations, look, in the UK, no organization has condemned this act of violence. No organization. I'm telling you, as a frustrated Muslim, anytime a terrorist attack happens, it's all running to condemnations and this. But so many things have been precipitated, have been actually allowed. For example, the Mujahideen, ISIS, allowed to grow. John Kerry, the Secretary of State in America, said, and you can find this recording on YouTube, it's open source, anyone can see it. He said, we allowed ISIS to grow so we could use them to be a force against Bashar al-Assad. When they had grown too far, we realized, oh damn. So they were allowed to grow. The Mujahideen, when they were fighting the Soviets, the Mujahideen, when they were allowed.
How can you use Muslims to do non-Islamic things?
That's because there's a distinction to be made here. When it comes to a Muslim and Islam, there's a distinction. Islam is something that's incorruptible, yeah, and the teachings of Islam. Muslims are fallible. They are followers of the scripture. They can be good, they can be bad, they can be, subjugated by a political entity, they can be, dominated by a particular entity. A Muslim is a Muslim. It's the same. It's the same with the Jewish people. It's the same with the Christian people. There's a distinction to be made between Christianity and the Christian, Judaism and the Jew, Islam and the Muslim. Let me just make my point. Islam and Muslim, the distinction needs to be made. You asked, is this something permissible? Permissible? I say in Islam, in the scriptures of Islam, it will not tell you go and kill indiscriminately, innocent people. No. But when you've got certain words, like certain sentences in 1 Samuel, yes, kill them, mate. Kill babies.
Just a couple of things. First of all,
and then you've got the leader of a democratic country like Benjamin Netanyahu.
There's no need to repeat it. I heard it was shocking what he said. Let me.
But maybe some people haven't.
Well, it was the stupidest thing and disgusting thing you would have said.
Yes.
Let me come back to a couple of things. First of all, you said there's Islam and there's Muslims, and Islam is incorruptible. But if Muslims who you don't agree with behave in a certain way and they interpret this Islam wrongly, right? Then I say Islam is faulty because it's possible quite easily to misinterpret it, right? And also, right, you'd think that the creator of the universe will give us some updates every so often because 1,500, 1,600 years ago is a long time ago. There's no update, there's no new prophets.
But it
doesn't seem credible. They won't have any prophets.
I got you. But there's a theological mistake here, which needs to be made clear. We believe as Muslims that we do have free will. And free will, there are certain things as a consequence of free will. For example, how we are with people and the likes, and what we're doing. This is a form of a test for us to see if we are.
I'm not talking about free will. I'm talking about people.
You are talking about.
I'm talking. Shush, 1 second. I'm talking about people who believe because of their politics, let's say, who believe.
Politics.
Because of their politics, they
Yeah.
believe that they can interpret Islam to enable them to kill women and children, and that's what they do. And they say Allahu Akbar. as they're
Yeah,
doing it.
all of them do the
That's
same
not-
thing.
But that's not.
That
them
doesn't mean that the religious book is faulty.
That's not a free will issue. That's an interpretation issue.
Not
They're
necessarily.
They're using their politics or they implement their politics to misinterpret Islam and do acts that are anti-Islam.
No, that's fallacious reasoning. That just
Why?
because
It's not fallacious.
it is
Why?
fallacious
What's
reasoning,
fallacious
because if a person can't come up with a certain verse that says, or a certain hadith that says kill innocent people, and somebody is killing innocent people and they're saying this in the scripture, any average minded person can say they're clearly not getting it from the Quran. It's not a matter of misinterpretation, it's a matter of interpolation, that this person is adding something in which clearly doesn't exist.
Well, okay, there are roughly 2 million people living in Gaza, right? May they find peace and food and
Amen.
yeah, right? But okay, there are 2 million people living in Gaza. The vast majority of them are Muslims, right? Now, I don't know what you think about polls, right?
Who?
Polls, P-O-L-L-S. Asking
Okay.
people their opinions, right?
Yeah.
Opinion polls, right? But I read a poll that a significant number of people in Gaza and a significant number of people in the West Bank and maybe other places in the world, right, think that October 7th.
Which poll was this?
There were some polls. I've been doing polls all the time. All the big polling companies go out there and they do polling thousands of people.
What, in Gaza?
In Gaza and in the West Bank. Yeah. Yes.
It's very surprising because every other day there's a bomb dropping.
They
I don't
still
think
manage
people
to
have
ask
time
people
to
questions.
respond to polls.
They definitely. It's reported. Let's
Yeah.
just do a thought experiment and suppose it's true. That,
Suppose that somebody that's pro-Israel goes in and does
no,
a
no,
poll.
not pro-Israel. No, forget about pro-Israel.
No, because the UK and the US are pro-Israel.
Hang on a minute. Let's
They're going in doing the polls.
Let's do a thought experiment
Sure.
and say that X percent, I don't know, 10%, 20%, let's say it's 70%, let's say it's 30%, right? A significant percentage of people Palestinians living in West Bank and Gaza, yes, support what happened on the 7th of October. Leaving aside the whole 100 years, just that moment, right? They support it. And let's suppose they understand that on the 7th of October, innocent women and children were killed, right? So now we have hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Muslims in Palestinians who, because of their suffering and whatever, they seem to have managed to change their understanding of Islam and find it acceptable that women and children were killed. And I question
There's
that.
a presupposition here, which
Yeah.
is the presupposition that you're saying that it was said to them that innocent women and children were killed.
But everyone knows that innocent women were
Who's everybody?
babies and women were killed.
Well,
they were
everybody was
kidnapped. They were
reporting.
kidnapped.
Everybody
No
was.
one even- no one-
Everybody
I
was
haven't met a
reporting
single
that there were
person
40
who doesn't
beheaded
admit that
babies.
250 people, including women and children, were kidnapped.
Wait. Everybody was reporting. It was on every front page
you
that
don't
were
need to tell
40
me. I
beheaded
know how many
babies.
people were.
No, but Jonathan,
I know there was
Jonathan,
propaganda. We don't need to argue about
Yeah.
it. I heard it all of it.
We're not.
I'm not arguing with you.
I'm
about it.
reiterating it because of the
don't
sake
need-
of other
you
people
don't
that
need
are
to
here as well.
reiterate anything, right?
It's
Something
important.
something
Context
happened
is important.
Something happened on 7th of October, which involved the either death, maiming.
Do
or
you believe there were
kidnapping of
40
innocent
beheaded
people.
babies? Do you believe?
No, that's
Yeah.
rubbish. No one
Yeah.
thinks that anyway. No,
They do. You'd be surprised.
Well, whatever. I don't believe. I believe from what I've read, and I've read Al Jazeera, and I've read the Palestinian websites, and I've read it wherever I can.
Yeah.
My understanding is that on 7th of October,
Yeah.
right, there were innocent people because they were babies or they were young women or whatever, innocent people who were either kidnapped or killed. Right, they were on 7th
So,
of October.
let me give you a bigger poll.
Do you think that's true? I don't know. Maybe you don't.
Let me give you a bigger poll, and I'll give you the name of the poll as well. It was Pew. Pew did a research,
Right.
and they had a bigger study where they went and asked people of different faith groups
Right.
if killing innocents was allowed.
Right.
And Muslims were the highest group, more than Christians, more than Jews,
Who
more
said
than
no?
even liberals. They said no.
Yes, which is
so this
great.
is a bigger study, not just looking at oppressed people that are in a blockade, that are literally being bullied, kicked from pillar to
But the-
post.
but the-
We're looking at the
But
faith
if you
in
look-
general
I
here.
understand, but if you look at the evidence from activities around the world in the last few decades of people professing Islam, killing
Which
innocent
activities?
people.
Which activities?
Well, blowing up in buses in London and 9/11 and all these things. There's so many events, right, which involved Muslim people saying they're Muslim. I don't know. Maybe you think they were Muslim, but people saying themselves they were Muslims. Shouting Allahu Akbar as they did these acts of violence against innocent people.
Okay.
What you find is obviously 1.3 billion people. A tiny percentage of the people is still going to be a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
1% of 1.3 billion is 130 million people, right?
This is an important distinction to make here, Jonathan, because people take what is going on and they're excluding colonialization. They're excluding.
That's just an excuse.
Can I just finish the point? Yeah. So you can disagree with the point.
Okay.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to do
Fine.
so.
Make the point,
Yeah,
and I can disagree.
yeah. The colonization, the taking of natural resources, the inherent way that the principalities in the Arabian Peninsula, Lord Crew, to name but a few, the British politicians and higher up saying that it's within our national interest to keep Arabia divided. Why? So they don't unite, and it could be an issue when it comes to, say, oil or whatnot. Yeah. So you have nefarious forces that are deliberately interfering, taking natural resources, like I think over half of the population of Iraq were cancerous. Yeah, because of the dropping of depleted uranium and white phosphorus that was literally melting the skin, drone attacks that were creating more terrorists. And on top of that, you know what's happening? They're being given more support. Like ISIS is getting weapons from the West. Like there were certain groups, like, I don't want to mention the groups, but then, we're giving weapons to that weak group. We will give weapons to them. It's gone to the hands of ISIS. And ISIS, they're apologizing to Israel because of, the injuries that they've done to Israel on the Golan Heights. Hang on a minute. I thought these were extremists. Why are they apologizing to Israel? And who are they committing?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, don't worry. I can give you
Seems a
evidence
bit
for this.
Unlikely.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me bring it out.
But no, don't bring it up. Let's just talk.
If it's unlikely, I can give you the
I
evidence.
can look it up afterwards.
Okay.
Let's just talk.
So
there's
search
many
this
things we're
up.
talking
Yeah.
about.
So
We can
search
it up.
this
It's
up.
fine.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm not saying you're
So-
wrong. I'm just saying that.
No problem. You can search this up. A lot of stuff you'll find very surprising. The most of the victims of ISIS, they're Muslims. Did you know this?
I do certainly know that. Yes.
So if they are people that are professing to believe in Islam and to raise a caliphate, is it not within their duties not to be killing the very people that they're supposed to be saving? Of course. Yeah, but this is inherently contradictory because they're committing acts of atrocities in Pakistan, in Iran, in Russia. These are all countries that are supposed to be anti-America. But this group has suddenly popped up. That's helping America. That's helping
Does not help America
Israel.
to blow up people in a concert hall
It helps.
in Moscow. It doesn't.
It helps.
It doesn't help them at all.
If America
You know
is,
what? I'm sorry, but
yeah.
with all due respect, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories. We have enough to talk about. I don't want to talk.
We're not
no,
talking
you can
about-
talk about it someone else.
okay.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about it.
I'll tell you-
Yeah, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not going to talk about
You've
it.
labelled it
I've got a lot
a-
of questions for you,
Yeah.
and you've got a lot. You've got shush.
Yeah.
You've got a lot to say to me that I can learn from.
Yes.
But I'm not interested in conspiracy theories.
Okay.
We've got enough to talk about. We're not going to be here all day. So
the label of conspiracy theory is why do you think it's a conspiracy theory?
what I'm here. Look. You mentioned, for example, Samuel and Amalekites, right? These are things I'm familiar with. Right?
Okay, Jonathan.
I'm not going to talk to you about those
We
things.
can move on from there.
Because we haven't. I want to learn from you, and
Yeah.
maybe you can pick something up from me. I
Right.
don't know, but that's all I want to
Let
do.
me clarify the conspiracy theory, because obviously there's people here and there's cameras here. If you're labeling something as a conspiracy theory and we move on and I don't get a chance to respond to that or at least defend it, then it
It
makes
sounds like you're saying that ISIS are somehow.
okay. Let's not go
tool
to
of
what
the
it
West.
sounds like, because you said it's a conspiracy theory. Okay,
Yeah.
so Putin, in his statement, he didn't mention ISIS. He's of the opinion, due to the intelligence that the Russians have gathered, this was something that was done by the Ukrainians and supported by the West. This was an ISIS attack.
Oh well, that must be true because Putin said it.
Well, no, you can't.
literally believe anything that Putin says.
No, because
Anything.
what you're saying is it's a conspiracy theory.
No, but I'm asking you a question. You don't have
I
to
don't
answer the
believe-
question.
I
Do you
don't believe 100%.
anything Putin says at all. Like at all.
Of course, I believe stuff that Putin says.
Think
Why do you have to?
You believe that Putin
What-
tells the truth?
Well,
About anything?
he says truth. Yeah, he says truths and he says falsehoods. Do you believe everything that he says is false?
Well, I don't take anything he says seriously. He's
Do
a
you believe
psychotic-
everything that he
he's
says
a
is false?
psychotic maniac. I
Well-
have no respect for the man at all.
well, so
He's
is
an ill,
so
sick
is
human
Obama.
being.
So is Biden. Well, it doesn't mean that we're going to reject.
They're not on the same level.
Well, they're on.
Biden's
I would
not
say they're on a worse
psychotic-
level.
No, they're not.
Of course they are.
Well, they're not.
Yeah,
Well,
they
we
are.
have different categories of what it means to be a human being who's well, who's got a good.
And we can have this
Palestine
difference.
to
But
Amalek is crazy. They're not pagans. It has nothing
No
to do
one
with it.
compared Palestine to
Many
Amalekites.
Israelis are.
No, Israelis.
Yes, they do.
Okay. Just I want you to understand
not
something.
think
I want you to
that,
understand something really, really clearly. Okay.
Like the,
All right,
the
well, please ask
Islamic
me a
people in like Dagestan and stuff could have had a
not saying
reason.
every
I want you to
to
understand
carry out
something. I want you to understand something.
No,
I'm not
no.
trying to go into the mind
No.
of an Israeli.
Why not?
right? Because my
The reason-
That's the narrative that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, the reason being there's some sort of equilibrium there. There's some sort of structure there. Even the leadership there is very pro-Russian, and it doesn't.
I'm always practicing everything. My life is one big practicing. I'm not going to talk about that. But I just want to say something, right? And it's important for everybody to hear the cameras, right? As a human being who believes in the sacredness of all humanity, right? And reducing suffering of all humanity.
Tell me when
it's
Assad kicks.
important for me,
When Assad's in dangerous
as a
territory.
Jewish person living in London, it's important for me to understand, to try and comprehend what it's like, what it might be like to be a Muslim Palestinian Gaza. It's important for me to understand that. What's their experience like? How can I have some kind of understanding of being born there, not against my will, and living in this place with a blockade and what?
Aaron Bushnell.
Hang on. You don't know what I am. You never met me, right? But I do.
Okay, so Jonathan.
And I'm inviting you and everybody watching here to do the same. To imagine what it's like to be born in Israel. Hang on. To be born.
He's Jewish as well, by the
It
way.
doesn't matter what
What's
you
happening
are.
in Palestine is terrible.
Hang on.
As if you're human.
Anybody who's got a human soul
And it's not
and
necessary.
access to their soul understands that what's happening. in
Jonathan,
Palestine
you can
is a
speak to him
disaster.
later. Yeah, let's finish our conversation. Yeah.
Fine.
So I gave you the. Okay. So one of the points that I mentioned was a statement of Putin. Whether you accept it, whether you reject it, that's up to you. So
why
that's
you mentioned what he said. It's irrelevant.
well, because some people. Come on, bro.
It's irrelevant. Well, Putin said it's irrelevant to the discussion because I don't believe anything he said.
It's not irrelevant because when you say something is conspiratorial, some people associate conspiratorial with a lack of evidence. Now, if you don't want to accept a certain...
Putin's statements are not evidence.
well,
it's not evidence.
He's a state leader.
He's
he
a
has
state leader who lies and who bombs people and who kills people in prison.
So does
and blows
Biden.
up airplanes out the screen.
So does Biden.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Well,
He doesn't do what? He's at a different level,
Since
Putin.
World War II, America is the only country that's dropped atom bombs
I am
on
aware of
innocent
that.
people.
I'm aware
That's the
of that.
only
It was in a
country.
war.
And now suddenly
It was
they're being
during a
and now
war.
suddenly they're involved and they're bullying other countries. Like Pakistan wants to have a natural gas with Iran, and they're saying, you know what, we're going to hit you with sanctions. Afghanistan, they've been bullying Afghanistan for 20 years. Now they get independence. Oh, let's put sanctions on you. Venezuela,
Afghanistan for 20 years. They've been trying
so it was okay?
Excuse me. They've been trying and failed, right? As far as I
To
understand
give them democracy?
to make Afghanistan a better place than it is today.
What, by bombing
But
them?
By the way, the Taliban,
Dropping depleted
the
uranium
Taliban-
on them?
What do you think about
White
the
phosphorus
are the
on
Taliban
them?
Muslims?
Raping the women
Are
there?
the Taliban Muslims?
Doesn't matter the Taliban
I'm
are Muslims.
interested in it.
For 20 years, you're telling me that those people have gone there, given them democracy, make it a better place. What, by
Yes,
bombing
they did.
somebody?
Women had rights.
How can you bomb somebody
Women
to give
had
them a
jobs
better
in
life?
Afghanistan for 20 years.
How can you bomb somebody and give them a better life?
Well, you have to bomb them sometimes to give them a better
You have to bomb them to
Yes,
give them
you
a
do
better life.
sometimes. In a
Well,
war.
this is where
It's a war.
Well,
It's a war situation.
well, did they give them a better life in Japan by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Look, hello, audience. Hello, everybody. There's this disgusting, stupid human idea and construct called a war. You must have heard of it. Right? It's quite common these days, and it's been common in
And there's
history.
also something
Human
called
beings
colonization
fight
as
each
well.
other. Yes, it's
Going and stealing the
there's
opium there as well.
colonization, which is also a stupid idea.
Yeah,
right?
stupid,
There's
dumb.
A terrible, disgusting idea. Islam also has ideas of war. It's in the Quran too about war.
Not like
War's a
this.
thing.
Not like this.
It's not about whether it's like it. War
Of
is
course
war
it's
is war.
like this.
No.
War needs to have certain criteria, needs to have certain boundaries, otherwise people become animals.
I agree with you.
Yes.
The fact is, the Hiroshima bombing with a nuclear weapon was part of a war. The
No, it
Japanese-
wasn't.
the
They were willing
Japanese-
to surrender.
The Japanese-
the commanders at that time,
We're not gonna
majority
go
of
to-
them
we're not
said
gonna go
they
to-
were willing to surrender,
We're not gonna
and
go-
they dropped them just to show Russia, the same Russia, the bad guy, the boogeyman. And since World War II, America has interfered in 50
We're not-
countries under the pretense of
We're not
communism.
going to go into
This
a whole
communist
history thing.
threat.
We were talking about Islam.
War is not
Well, history is incredibly
I wanna
important,
get back
I'm
to
afraid.
Islam, okay, I'm not saying history is not important.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm ignorant completely of it, but I'm mainly ignorant of loads of this very complex history of the whole World War 75 years ago. I want to talk about. Let's get back to the original question I had, right? Which is the following the question. Yes, the following question is. Right? If I imagine it's completely imagination.
Yeah, but
If
what
I
you're
were a
doing is you're
Muslim- if I were a
divorcing
Muslim- hang on.
context,
If I
and
were-
you're taking
No,
something in
I'm building a-
isolation.
I'm building a
and you're
context.
telling me I had to just
I'm
deal with
building
this.
a context. My name's Mohammed. I'm born in the Khan Yunis refugee camp, right? I'm one of 9 kids, right? It's 1968 with the year I was born. The Israeli army's just taken control of the Gaza Strip. There's Israeli soldiers everywhere.
Yeah, so
hang on.
so
This is
what
my
are you
little
asking?
construct.
Let's get to the point.
No, my question, and
Yeah,
I'm
let's get it
brought up
quicker,
as a
yeah.
Muslim, right?
Right.
Okay, and I'm told in my Islamic
Right.
classes
Yeah.
that it's against God's law, Allah's law, under any circumstances,
Yes.
to deliberately kill a baby
Yes.
or a child.
So now if
Wait,
you
wait.
so
Then-
now if
then-
you bully
wait,
and
wait,
stuff,
then 20, 30 years later, I'm 30 years old, yes, it's 1990s, my Gaza has elected Hamas as the government, right? Hamas send their people into Israel, right? And they blow people up on a bus and they ask me if I want to go be part of it. I would say no, it's against my religion. It doesn't matter what the colonizers did. It doesn't matter what the oppression is. It doesn't matter what the Israelis did. It doesn't matter what the Jews did. I don't care. Allah said in my text, in my Islamic idea, that I will not and shall not kill a woman or a child under any condition.
Right.
Right. And if
So
it
just
happens,
because you're a
I'm going to
Muslim,
say no,
just because
right?
you're a Muslim,
but that hasn't
just
happened.
because you're a Muslim doesn't mean you're going to follow everything to a T. Just because you're a Muslim doesn't mean that because you're being bullied and you're being subjugated, now that you're going to be thinking rationally, you're going to be taking every aspect of the scripture, be following it to a T, being logical and being rational. No. Your expectations of a human being is actually unrealistic, because a human being, if you are put under subjugation, you're put under unrealistic expectations that human beings cannot be expected to follow rationality.
It's
and
not
that human being,
rationality, it's God's law.
No.
It's Allah's law.
Okay, then
right?
Allah's
So it should be.
So Allah's
I
law
should be able to
means.
send a baby into Gaza, right? A 5-year-old baby.
So you're saying just because somebody, you're saying just because somebody accepts Islam,
Yes.
that person is going to follow Allah's law 100%.
Yes, especially when it comes
Well,
to killing innocent people. Yeah.
that's a very naive, very foundational, ignorant understanding of the nature of a human being.
What's the
Because
point?
we are flawed, we are biased, we can be manipulated. We, for example, a good human being, if somebody comes and slaps me, yes, be a good Muslim, be peaceful, be loving, and be this and be that. Somebody slaps me, I'm going to get a surge of adrenaline. I'm going to go to the person, and who knows what's going to happen. An altercation will take place. But to say that, oh no, that person, because he's a Muslim now, I can slap him about, I can do whatever, and
he can defend himself. He can defend himself. You're allowed to. Islam lets you defend yourself.
Yeah, defend yourself.
Yeah.
But
if I slap you,
yeah.
Islamically, you can hit me back, can't you? According to Islam.
But then, what is
but you're allowed to. It's
self-defense?
nothing against your religion.
The British police hasn't demarcated clearly what self-defense is. You can hold a weapon. Sometimes you'll get arrested for that weapon. Sometimes you won't get arrested by that weapon. Self-defense. What does that mean?
Okay, but there are some things where we know it's not self-defense.
Like what?
Oh, very simple. If I break into someone's house and kill someone in their bed, that's not self-defense.
That can be regarded as self-defense.
How can that be self-defense?
That can be regarded as self-defense.
How? In what way can it
So
be
you
self-defense?
break into somebody's house,
Someone
and
I
you
don't know. I never heard of in my life. And I break into their house and I kill them in their bed. Right? That's clearly not self-defense.
So somebody could be holding his family hostage and tell him, look, go into that
Not
person's
allowed
house.
to do that. No.
But then his mum will die
His
then.
mum has to die.
Well, I'm sorry, he loves his mum
and
more.
someone looked at my loved ones and said, if you don't kill someone, I'm going to kill them. I'd let my.
Well, so
my
does
people
everybody
die.
think
I won't
like?
kill an innocent
Sorry.
person.
Does everybody think
Disgusting.
like you?
I hope so. I'd ask the people.
Does
here.
everybody think like you?
Ask the people here. I hope so.
Well, the people, of course, not everybody
hell
will
would
say,
you go
let
kill
my
an
mother
innocent
die. Let my mother die. And some people, even people that have been inaugurated into gangs, they're told that if you don't do this, you can't join our gang. People are doing it for gangs. You're telling me about a mother? Of course he'll do it to save the mother's life.
Humans are stupid then and disgusting.
Well, they are.
Disgusting.
Well, that's
But the whole
that's human
point of
beings.
Islam, the whole point of religion, is to hold our disgustingness to account.
And it is
Right?
doing
And
that.
It doesn't do it.
But it takes our free will into consideration. It won't force us into bondage and force us to do something, all the while saying that yes, you have free will.
How can you
have
fast
free
on
will.
Ramadan? How can you fast on Ramadan? Pray 5 times a day. Avoid eating certain foods. Right. Read the Quran. Read the Hadith. Give charity. Right. And accept the killing of innocents because of colonialism or whatever the other reason there is.
Wait. Where did you get that conclusion
I'm saying,
from?
like there are
I've made my stance very clear from the get-go. You are not allowed to kill.
inconsistent.
It's
It's inconsistent. What I'm saying is there's an inconsistency.
We can have
in
this
that
conversation
people say
later.
they're religious, express their religiousness in
Oh,
lots
it
of
would be
ways.
nice to have a
But when it
conversation
comes
with
to that particular commandment of not
Are you
killing
coming
innocent
next week?
people, They're suddenly no longer
maybe next
religious.
week.
I just don't get it. I just don't get how people can. I was on a march yesterday with 200,000 people in London, for Palestine.
Yeah.
And I was going up to person after person after person, and I was saying to you, listen, I didn't ask them to condemn anybody. I don't believe that rubbish. Condemn this, condemn that.
Thank you.
Right? I just asked them. I said, do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, you don't answer my question. I'll just move on. There's 200,000 people. I'm just picking on you.
Right.
Oh, 199,909 to pick on. But I'm asking you, do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think the people of Hamas, the army of Hamas, do you think that they are, genocidal? Like the Israelis.
Hamas are
Yes. Do you
genocidal.
think they're genocidal? 1 to 10, right? Do you think what they did on September 7 was within the laws of Islam? Yes.
Did they answer that?
They all said it was. Most of them said Hamas was fine. Not all of that. 1 out of 10 said Hamas was terrible. And 9 out of 10
what
said
if
we're
they said
pro-Hamas,
there's a nuance?
Hamas are great. They're great. They're fantastic. They're not genocidal.
What if they said
That's
it's
what
a
they said
nuance?
To me,
Because you gave me
it
the
was my
answer.
Sabbath, so I don't use
Yeah.
my phone on Saturdays. Otherwise, I'd have recorded it.
But you
next time
gave.
I'll bring
But
a
when I
Jewish
asked you about the
cameraman.
genocide in Gaza, you told me it's a nuance. It's not yes or no.
You can tell me it's nuanced. I didn't say yes or no. I said on a scale of 1 to 10. Right? That's what I asked them. I didn't say yes or no.
No, what I'm saying
If
is
you
that if
ask-
they gave you the answer that it's nuanced, would that be acceptable to you?
Yes, absolutely. That's my favorite answer to any question. It's nuanced. Absolutely is nuanced, right? Okay. But the point is, these are people holding up banners saying,
Yeah.
stop the genocide. And I'm
Yeah.
okay, you clearly know what genocide is because you decided the Israelis are doing it. I'm asking you if the same word applies.
No, they didn't
to
say
Hamas.
stop the genocide of Israelis.
No,
Why are
they
you
said, no,
assuming
they
that?
said no. They said genocide of Palestinians and Gaza. That's
Well,
what they
all
said.
of them said stop the genocide
Most
of the
them, loads of them
Palestinians.
said it. Yeah, loads of top of genocide.
No, I'm pretty sure it says stop the genocide.
Okay, no, but it's
Ceasefire now.
Right, fine.
Stop the killing.
But when I asked them if the genocide applies also to the Hamas killings, they said no, it wasn't. It was only the Israelis doing genocide. And
Well,
not
maybe
Hamas.
you
That's
came
what they
across,
told me.
Jonathan.
No, it
Maybe you
wasn't
came
me.
across certain
It
people.
wasn't. We can ask people here. You'll find people who say that Hamas is not
I'm
committing
yet to come
genocide.
across a person. I'm yet to
Really?
come across a person that will say, you know what, accept genocide there, but don't accept it there.
You should
All
come-
of genocide
come with me
is
on
wrong.
the next Palestinian demonstration on next Saturday, a few weeks' time. I'll meet you. Give me my
We'll
address.
we'll have a coffee as well. No
We'll have a
problem.
coffee. We'll go for a walk. It was literally walking down the Strand, right? And I asked dozens of people this question. Dozens.
We'll
And if
ask
you don't
more
believe me,
people.
come together with me. That's what they told
Ask them
my
this question.
experience. I'm either lying or I'm not. But if you don't believe me,
Genocide,
come with me.
Jonathan, genocide is wrong despite who's doing it.
Right.
Believer, disbeliever. Israeli, Pakistani, Iraqi, doesn't matter. Genocide
So what I'm saying
is
I
wrong.
was with 200,000 people yesterday. I was one of them.
Jonathan,
Walking-
I can't
and
verify this.
No.
I don't know you.
No, I know. But I'm saying
Maybe you're
But you can
feeding me a
look-
pack
you can
of
look at videos.
nonsense.
Forget about what I say. Just look on the videos of all the people walking down the street.
I have, and none of them say genocide is okay
None
for
of
one,
them
but not
said
the
we
other.
condemn genocide of all kinds. None of them said Hamas and Israel. It was all Israel.
That's because
Israel,
there is
Israel,
only
Israel.
one genocide taking place,
Sorry?
according to the ICJ.
There was no condemnation of any
Which
Palestinian
international
killing
court?
at all.
Which
There was none.
international
I was
court?
There. There was,
Which
it's not take my word for it. Look at the
international court
pictures.
says
There was-
that someone is committing a genocide against Israel? Give me one.
Sorry. Oh, Hamas.
Which international court?
Hamas.
That's not an international court.
Well, they're not part of it. They're not a nation, Hamas.
Are you telling me Hamas is an international court?
No. The way the international.
I'm
the way
asking you,
international
which
court-
international court says that someone is doing a genocide against Israel? Go.
Okay. Okay. The way the International Court of Justice works.
Now
is
you're
that
talking
you
about the
have to be-
ICJ.
You have to have a company. You have to have a country that is a signatory to it. It has to be a nation state that's recognised by the UN. They sign up to it, and then they are subject to the court. Hamas and Gaza is not a country. Palestine is not a country in the UN.
Excuse me?
Palestine is not a United Nations recognised country.
Okay.
Okay? It's not. So therefore, they're not subject to ICJ rulings. So you can't prosecute them in the ICJ. You can't prosecute Hamas.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah?
I told you,
Yeah.
I asked you a very simple question.
Yeah.
You have an international court that is linking Israel and the
Yeah.
crimes that they're committing to Palestinians as genocide.
They're not.
The link has been made.
They
You're saying
haven't
there's no link whatsoever.
No, they said.
Is there a link?
The South African government.
Is there a link?
The South
There is a link.
No, the South African government.
You're saying there's no link?
If I take you to court and I say you've committed a crime against me, right? Okay, you haven't committed the crime until the court says you have. right? It's an allegation. So the South Africans made an allegation that Israel was committing genocide. There was a case.
Have they ruled out genocide?
They have said that they haven't ruled it out. They said it's not genocide yet, but it's getting close to genocide. Be careful.
Oh.
That was the ruling.
So getting close to genocide.
Yes, it's bordering on it.
I don't care if
That's
it's
what
on
they
the
said.
border. I don't care if it's standing on the fence. Genocide is genocide,
it's
mate.
not.
Some arbitrary rule. Oh, genocide is not quite there yet.
No, that's
Killing
not how
people
things
is
work.
killing people.
No, it's
Genocide
not.
is wrong.
Excuse me. Wait. If I kill you, or anybody, yeah, is it murder?
But is it? Are
Is
you
it murder?
bordering? Are you bordering on
No.
killing me?
If I kill you,
Killing is killing.
Is it murder?
What?
If I kill you, is it murder?
If you kill me,
If
it's
I kill
murder.
you, is it murder? No. If you think all killing is murder,
I didn't say all killing is murder.
I just told you if I kill you,
No,
is it murder?
you said, do you
No,
think
it
killing
depends
is
on the
murder? I said yes.
circumstances. Yeah, if I kill you in self-defense,
There's different types
then
of
it's
murder.
not only is it not murder, I've got a moral duty to kill you, right? If I'm killing you in a war, I might have a moral duty to kill you. So killing is not murder.
It's very
And
clear.
genocide is only
You have a
genocide
court
under
here that is clearly putting Israel
No, they're just
and what they're doing in Palestine and genocide in the same sentence.
No,
You
it's
tell
an
me another
allegation.
court that is putting what another country is doing to Israel and genocide in the same sentence.
You're not being logical here. Listen.
This is as logical as it gets.
It's not.
You have an international
I'll say
court
it
here.
again for the cameras. There was an allegation. That doesn't mean it's true or not. Someone accused
We're just
someone.
going round in
There's
circles,
an allegation against Israel committing genocide.
We're just
It
going
went
round
to
in
the court.
circles.
The allegation came to the court. That doesn't mean it's true.
If
and the court
it's
said it's not true.
absurd, it wouldn't even be entertained by the courts. If this completely baseless, it would not be entertained by the courts. And you just told me it's bordering on genocide, which means enough people have been killed that it's pretty much genocide according to them.
Excuse me. There was a acceptance of the case in front of the court. Right? I don't know what the mechanism is of whether or not they received a case, right? But they received an allegation, and it was.
Look,
it was
no one's
rejected.
saying
It
what's
was
happening to the
rejected.
Israelis is genocide. That's my main point.
No one's saying what's happening to Israelis.
No
genocide.
one's saying what
that's
Israelis are going
not
through is
true.
genocide.
What's totally untrue, because the Israelis
Who?
are saying that what
Few
happened
people
on,
that you've
what happened on 7th of
spoken
October
to on
was
a march
genocide.
somewhere?
No. Israelis are saying that they were subject to a genocidal attack.
Oh, Israel said so.
Yes.
Okay, then we need to listen to what
Yes, we
Israel
should
is saying,
listen to
isn't
that.
it?
Yeah.
Did they also say about the 40 beheaded babies? I think they
wait a
did,
second,
didn't they?
Wait a second, hang on.
Yes, they said we've got evidence.
I'm not talking about.
Oh, yes, they did.
I'm not talking about the Israeli government. Can we talk? Let's talk about the 40 babies, okay?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, okay? All right. I want you to picture.
I thought you said it's absolute
No,
nonsense.
it's absolute nonsense. I didn't believe when I saw it. Like, show me the heads, right? I didn't
Yeah.
believe it. Okay, but let me explain to you what's going on. Right, we're living in a world with TikTok and videos and all sorts of miscommunications going on, social media, right? On the 7th of October, this unbelievable attack happened from Israel's point of view, right, where thousands of Palestinians came in with guns and kidnapped people and killed people, right, and took over the south of Israel, okay? And it was complete mayhem. And in that mayhem, right, there were all sorts of reports about what had happened.
There were also reports to say Benjamin Netanyahu knew about this,
it was chaos.
and he allowed it.
Right, hang on, it was chaos, right? In that chaos, I don't know, and to be honest, you don't know where the rumor, which it clearly was because it's not true, came that there were beheaded babies. Right?
That's because they
There
were
was a
saying
hang on,
there's
hang on.
evidence
No.
under these
No, hang
sheets
on.
that there are 40
Hang on,
beheaded
hang on.
babies.
We don't know exactly how that came about.
We
right?
do.
And I can tell you something very clearly, right?
There was an army official
So much-
telling media
so much-
there are 40 beheaded babies.
So much
I saw it
atrocity.
myself.
So much
Bible
atrocity.
said it, man. You
Hang on a
said I saw
second.
Yeah.
So hang on a second. There was lots of things going on that day, and people didn't know what to believe. Right? Why would anyone need to
I
make
think-
up a lie of 40 babies? when there was
Because
so
it
much
serves their
atrocity?
interest.
No, there
It
was so
serves
much-
them
there was so
carpet
much-
bombing Gaza. I think
No,
we
no.
do. It's not rocket science.
Excuse me. The 40 babies thing was retracted well before the carpet bombing.
The
of
40
Gaza.
beheaded
Yes.
babies is not retracted
Yes.
even till today.
Yes, it is.
No, you still got the likes of Ben
Who?
Shapiro
Ben
and
Shapiro
these
Ben
far
Shapiro
right
does not say 40
nut jobs.
babies. Rubbish.
Of course he does.
Rubbish. I will bet.
How do you know?
You don't do betting in Islam, right?
No.
Okay. How can we do a friendly bet? I don't know. Right? I'm
Well, just by
certain
adding
that
friendly
Ben
doesn't
Shapiro
make
does
it
not think
okay.
that 40 babies would be beheaded on October 7th. It's a nonsense, right? The atrocities happened on October the 7th by any measure. By any measure, there were atrocities. There were 100 years of all sorts of terrible things and atrocities that went on both sides between Israel and Palestinians. Right? I'm not denying that. Yeah, there's a context. I'm not saying it's just one day out of nothing. Yes, but on October the 7th, there were atrocities committed. And you don't need 40 dead babies with heads missing, yeah, to say that it was atrocious and we need to go and war.
Well, they thought they needed to say that.
Well, they didn't, and they retracted it. And they also brought the numbers down from 1,400 to 1,200 when they started counting because they got the number wrong.
That's because initially they got the reaction that they wanted.
They got the number wrong. So it's humility to say we got the number wrong.
Not necessarily. They say a lie travels the earth quicker than the truth can even put their shoes on.
Change the numbers
so the
down
lies
give
went all
more
the way around.
credibility to me. More. Yeah, they do. But anyway,
when 40 beheaded babies made it on every single front page news, and then the retraction doesn't make it on the front page news, you can't correlate the two and say, you know what, everybody knows it's been taken back.
Anyone who follows the news today believes that the 40 baby thing actually happened anymore.
Well, I've come across
a rumor that came out, and
so many people
debunked, and it's not true. I speak to Jews and Zionists all day long, and no one thinks 40 babies had their heads removed, and all of them think terrible, atrocious things happened. So you don't need 40.
What about like Rabbi Shmuley saying that weird stuff of private parts being cut open and babies being taken out and all that sort of nonsense as well?
I heard Rabbi Shmuley saying that, right? I haven't had the time or
Unholy Shmuley.
Oh yes, I haven't had the time or interest to investigate it, and I'll tell you why. I don't care if these disgusting things were made up or not, because there was enough atrocity on those days.
You should care if something like that is made up or not.
I know, but I haven't got all day to investigate every stupid claim that people make. I spend the whole day. I've got a job. I've got kids to take care of. My wife and kids to take care of.
Fair enough.
So
You're married, yeah?
I know, yeah.
Okay.
So that's not. But I guess I want to come back to this point again and again and again, which is you seem to be saying Islam is truth. Muslims have free will.
Jonathan, this is a very commonsensical point.
Muslims make mistakes, right? So if a million Palestinian Muslims support the killing of innocents, well, that's just them making bad choices.
But are they
That's
doing
what
it?
you're
Are they doing it predicated on Islam, or are they doing it predicated upon
Islam trumps
political
their lives? That's the whole point. They fast on Ramadan.
no,
It's Ramadan now, right?
Just
Why
because-
aren't they
just because
believing
someone
what
is-
they're supposed to believe?
just
Which
because-
is, it's wrong. Whatever the political situation, it is wrong for my people, who I think are my heroes, going and fighting the Israelis. Good for you. Go and kill soldiers or whatever it is. Whatever. Go have a war and fight those Israelis who stole our land. Fine, I'm with you.
Okay.
But when it comes down to babies, we say no.
Okay.
That would be fine, but that's not what I'm hearing.
When it comes to any religion, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Islam, everyone understands this point to make a distinction between the religion and the adherents of the religion. If you start conflating the two, things will become so messy. You'd have to say George W. Bush, who said, I saw Jesus in a dream and he told me to go into Iraq. Then you have to label Christianity and the Bible as something that was implicated in the atrocities that took place in Iraq. Of course,
It was.
well,
The Bible was implicated in that.
I
That's
think
my
a
whole
Christian
beef-
would not
that's
be
my whole
happy
beef
with that.
religion in the first place. It's not good enough.
Well,
Religion's
that's-
not good enough.
I think
it doesn't
there's
give
a-
us enough. It doesn't give us enough information. It doesn't give enough clarity, moral clarity. Yes. Okay. It's not. It's not clear. I'm telling you, it's not clear. I'll tell you what's clear.
I
to me.
don't
Not
think it can
killing-
be more clearer
No,
than
not
don't
killing-
kill innocent people. Don't kill women and children.
If it were that clear, religious people wouldn't be killing innocent children, and they do.
No, that's because what you're doing is you're divorcing religious people and you're putting them separately like a stem cell into a petri dish, separating it from every other thing. That's completely unrealistic to do. A human being cannot be separated like a stem cell. Human being is subject to political, social, cultural pressures and forces. So a person may be a believer, may be a Muslim, but if he is constantly being, attacked, constantly, you have to understand and appreciate his understanding of his. For example, a woman that's constantly being raped and she's calling out to God, God help me, help me, help me. She has a very rudimentary understanding of religion and she's constantly being raped. That woman is going to believe that, what is going on here? And she's going to, her faith is going to go up and down. But no. But she's a Muslim. She has to be a strong believer. Yeah, can you stop the person from raping her every 5 minutes and then maybe she'll have enough time to formulate an opinion? No, but she's a believer. It's
But
God's fault now.
She's a victim.
Yeah, she's a victim of what?
Of a very bad human being.
Of a very bad human being.
Who's read the Quran and thinks it's okay to rape her or isn't religious.
No, the one raping is not the adherent of the Quran. The one raping is actually a liberal person that's raping her again and again and again. And to say that, no, to the woman, oh, your belief needs to be stronger. Your Quran is not true. hang on a minute, what's this
But what
got
I'm
to do
saying
with
is,
the Quran?
Again, if you're a Gazan and you're brought up in the faith of Islam, and then you're let loose on the south of Israel, right?
Yeah.
Your religion would say to you, I don't eat
No,
pork,
no.
I don't eat a
There's a
Ramadan,
presupposition
and I don't
here.
rape people,
There's
even
a-
if they're Israeli.
There's a
But they did rape
presupposition.
them.
There's a presupposition here. Just because someone is Gazan, therefore they have understood the whole of Islam.
No, it's not the whole of Islam, it's basic.
Hello, I'm Gazan.
If I go, excuse me, if I go,
I know the whole of Islam now. Now
If I
judge
go
me
with-
by Islam.
If I go on Ramadan,
This is ridiculous.
If I go today,
Or even, I'm a Gazan, I fast. Therefore I'm a perfect person. And
not a perfect person, but
Come
raping
on,
someone,
mate.
come on. That's known by every
Of
Muslim
course, and
in the world.
Islam says it's wrong.
They raped on the 7th of October.
Yeah,
they
what's the
raped.
evidence? What's the evidence?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I will give you. You tell me either now or at another time. I'll give you my detail. You'll tell me which level of evidence you will accept that women were raped by Muslim Palestinian Gazan men on the 7th of October. You tell me what evidence you'll accept, and I will find the evidence for you.
Okay, brilliant.
Whatever you need.
Brilliant.
Video confession, whatever you.
So you
accept.
don't have them, yeah?
No, I have them, but I want to know what you'll accept.
Okay, give me the strongest evidence that you have in your opinion, that you think objectively would be convincing to me.
Okay, so I've read reports in the Israeli press, right, of individual women who their names are there. They've got video testimony who say they were raped, right? And I've seen it.
So Israeli women are telling the media that they were raped.
Yes.
This is the strongest evidence
Yes.
that you have.
That's pretty good evidence.
I'm sorry, but
they're
this
lying.
doesn't seem like evidence
So
to
they're
me.
lying.
I'm telling
They're
you,
lying.
a country in war,
Okay, fine. That's why I asked you. Stop.
A
That's why I
country-
asked you.
a
I said,
country in
you
war-
tell me which evidence you will
a
accept.
country in war,
Is there any evidence you would accept?
a country in war,
Is
Jonathan,
it possible that they were raped?
it's conceivable that they would be
Right.
lying in war.
Is it conceivable that some of the Palestinian Gazan Muslims raped women on the 7th of October? Is that conceivable too? Is that conceivable? That
It's
they did?
conceivable.
All right. What evidence will you accept? You won't accept testimony of Israeli women. What evidence will you
Not
accept?
evidence that's predicated from coming from Israel, just like any time,
So which evidence will you
just like
accept?
any evidence.
I understand what you won't.
Yeah.
Which will you
No, I
accept?
need to give you a bit more explanation.
Yeah.
For example, whenever people are saying, this is how many people are dying. Oh, that's Hamas statistics. But Israel saying this. Oh, all hail Israel. So we need to accept what Israel is saying. But when it comes to Hamas, no. They're doing this and they're doing that. No, we can't take what they're saying. So I'm telling you, give me something that's objective, that's non-Israel related.
You tell me what
I'm
objective
telling
is.
you.
What? Like what?
Non-Israel related. Oh, this
Like,
guy
so
called
if I-
Mr. Israel
Okay, if I
says
have an Al
that,
Jazeera-
I
if
know
I have
this
an Al
lady over
Jazeera
here.
report.
Oh, hello, lady. Were you raped? Yes, I was raped.
Okay.
There you go, irrefutable
If I have-
evidence
if I-
now.
I wanna-
All hail Israel.
Okay. If I have an Al Jazeera report that says a single woman was raped on the 7th of October by an Arab Muslim Israeli Gazan person, would you accept that? as
What,
evidence?
just because Al Jazeera saying
I
that?
don't know. What will you accept? You haven't told me. You told me what
No,
you
no,
want me
no.
to.
Show us
What evidence will you accept? And I'll find it.
So
for you.
when you're saying Al Jazeera has to say where they're saying it. Are they getting from Israeli news? Again, we fall into the same trap. I don't accept
maybe if
Israeli
Gazan
sources.
came home and admitted to it. To his
Yeah,
mother.
then I'll accept that then.
Okay, I'll find it. For
Yeah.
you. All right, I'll send it.
If
to
an
you.
Israeli is saying it, I don't accept
If
it.
you don't accept Israeli, I'll find it on Israeli for you.
There is
no
Israeli
problem.
channel,
Right?
number 12.
Yeah.
Sorry, just 1 second. You see,
Yeah.
it said most of the people died on 7th of October. The Israeli one
It's not
has
true.
done-
That's a
yeah,
lie.
by the
It's a
the
big
Israeli
fat
army.
falsehood.
Look,
He's
why?
talking
Because it has been
nonsense.
ro-
He's
has been
following up on a
broken
lie.
into
No, it's
That isn't
Israeli
true.
news. It's Israeli news.
Israeli. No,
It's number
not.
12.
I know
I'll
Channel
find it.
12. I speak fluent Hebrew. That was never on the thing. I'll give you my email address. You send
this
me.
is the left
You send me
party, because they
a
are-
video.
We'll send you the evidence.
Channel 12 telling that the majority of Israelis were
Because
killed by
they
their
are
own
the
Israeli
left
people.
party against
Rubbish.
He'll give you the evidence.
It's
Yeah.
absolute nonsense, and you damn well know it.
They haven't got
Right.
rockets, you see, and tanks like
Yeah. It's just, you know what this is? I can't believe that my fellow people who are my people would commit atrocities, so I'm in denial, which is the most disgusting.
so-
Therefore, we take what Israel says.
Problem.
All hail
Yeah.
Israel.
They have been
Listen,
genocide
I
like
am a
100
Jew.
years,
I am
you
a
know?
Jew, and I'm a conflicted Zionist. And the things that Israelis have done in my name or as a fellow Zionist or in 1948 are disgusting to me.
Yes, thank you.
Because human beings can be disgusting, even if we're Jewish, even if they're my family.
But what time is
We can do
iftar?
disgusting
7:30?
things. So can Muslims do disgusting things.
7:45.
So can Hamas do
It
disgusting
has
things.
been done
So can
like 100
Gazans and
years.
Palestinians. For
100
all sorts of
years.
reasons, because they've been
Yes.
oppressed, they haven't been
You're
oppressed,
defending them.
whatever.
You're defending
Human
them.
beings do disgusting things.
7:35.
And we have to admit to it. Right?
Bro, you're
And
right,
I
yeah.
admit to the people,
Oh,
my
I'm
people
good.
are discussing things. Maybe you need to admit to
Huh?
yours as
Tell
well.
me where
And then we
legs.
can make
No,
peace.
please.
Okay, let me stop. Tell me where Muslim ever made like criminal war. Tell me where.
Tell you what?
Any Muslim like made a criminal.
You can speak to him. You guys can have a discussion. But Jonathan, yeah, we'll share details and you know we can continue. Thank you for speaking to me.
Thank you very much.
It's good. It's helpful.
How do I get hold of you?
Let me give you my email. And you just drop me an email, yeah?
Guys, one second. Can you not just agree that there's probably been atrocities on both sides and propaganda on both sides?
It's not about side things anymore. I'm sorry. When there's a genocide going on, there's not both sides.
Do you know what? I want to say something about the genocide. I want to ask you a question because I never understood this, and I'm looking for enlightenment here, right? I know this is not going to happen, but let's suppose the Hamas, whoever's left in Hamas, the people in Qatar or wherever they are, they said, you know what? We fucked up Gaza. We screwed it all up.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're going to give back the hostages, and we're going to go to Algeria, and we're going to give up ruling Gaza. Please just stop bombing, right? To the Israeli government. They did that. They surrendered, right? They surrendered the hostages, and they surrendered the war. Yes. Would the Israelis carry on bombing?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
Yes. Because they want it all.
See, this is just
They've made it clear.
Bullshit, right? He's like literally, he just said 100% sure. How can you have a conversation with people like that? It's impossible. You're just making shit up, right?
Well, when you're saying
making
both
stuff up. You have
sides,
no.
while I agree,
You say,
that's
I don't know.
preposterous.
How am I supposed to know? You
think
just
that's
said yes.
ridiculous.
Like you're an expert on Israeli policy. You know nothing. I know nothing. And you're sure. It's ridiculous. Seriously. No, I'm not sure. How am I supposed
Can I
to
just pray
know?
and come back?
But he knows. This brilliant expert
I was
knows.
waiting
Yeah,
there
you're
for
genius.
a
You
while.
are.
Okay.
You know
I'll come back,
nothing.
though.
I know nothing. Yes. So stop saying yes when you know nothing. Say I don't know. Have some humility and say I don't know.
And when you're having
They're not my government. My government's in Westminster. I'm a British
How long
person.
of the conversation
All right?
were you
The
having?
Israeli government has never ever said that if Hamas surrenders the hostages and surrenders governing Gaza and gets the fuck out of there and gives up their weapons, then they're going to carry on bombing
I'd
Gaza.
say that
They never
he's-
said
he's
that.
better
They
than
never
most
would say
I've come
that. They
across.
never would do it.
I
It's
agree with
bullshit. You're talking nonsense.
We had a really good conversation.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And even though it got,
Why?
you know,
How
it was
can
important.
there be any peace in the world when people like you talk